The chamber was larger than any building ever constructed on Earth. Ambassador James Holden stood alone on a floating platform of black stone, suspended above an endless darkness that seemed to swallow all light. Around him, rising in impossible tiers that stretched toward a ceiling lost in shadow, sat the representatives of 847 alien species. The Galactic Council had ruled the known universe for 3 million years. They controlled 10,000 worlds across 500 star systems. Their laws governed trillions of beings, and their warships could reduce entire planets to ash within hours. And today, for the first time in their long history, they had summoned a species they had never acknowledged before. Humanity. James kept his breathing steady. His heart pounded against his ribs, but his face showed nothing. 23 years of diplomatic service had taught him one simple truth. In negotiations, the first one to show fear has already lost. The chamber fell silent as High Arbiter Thyssen rose from his crystalline throne. He was a Velthari, a being made of living crystal that pulsed with ancient light. His voice rolled through the chamber like thunder. Species 9847. Designation: Human. Origin: Sol System, 3rd planet. You have been summoned to answer for your crimes against galactic law. James did not flinch. Behind him, holographic projections showed Earth spinning slowly in the void. His home. 11 billion lives hanging on every word he spoke. The charges are as follows, Thyssen continued. Unauthorized development of faster-than-light travel. Unauthorized colonization of 17 celestial bodies. Unauthorized contact with 4 protected pre-spaceflight civilizations. And most severely, the development of quantum displacement technology, which is forbidden to all species below Tier 6 classification. A murmur swept through the assembly. The Mordrith, insectoid beings with compound eyes that reflected hundreds of tiny images, clicked their mandibles in disapproval. The Fanari, elegant creatures floating in mobile tanks of pressurized liquid, bubbled with agitation. Dozens of other species watched with expressions James could not read. How does humanity answer these charges? Thyssen demanded. James took a single step forward. His voice carried across the vast chamber, calm and clear. High Arbiter, humanity pleads not guilty. Silence. Then Chaos. Representatives shouted in languages James did not understand. Some rose from their seats in outrage. Others simply stared, unable to comprehend what they had witnessed. In 3 million years, no species had ever challenged the Council's authority. Thyssen raised a crystalline limb, and the chamber fell quiet. You deny the evidence we have gathered? We have documented proof of every violation. I deny nothing, James replied. I deny the legitimacy of laws we were never told existed, enforced by a council that never acknowledged our existence until we became inconvenient. He let the words settle before continuing. Humanity reached the stars on our own. We built our ships with our own hands. We discovered quantum displacement through our own research. And yes, we made contact with other species because we believed the universe might welcome us. We committed no crimes. We simply existed too loudly for your comfort. Thyssen leaned forward, his crystal form flickering with barely contained energy. Your arrogance confirms what many have long suspected. Humanity is not merely ignorant. You are dangerous. James smiled. It was not a friendly smile. We are whatever you force us to become. The council voted for 6 hours. James stood on the platform the entire time, watching, waiting, calculating. In his earpiece, Admiral Rebecca Stone spoke from the hidden warship 3 star systems away. James, we are detecting Council fleet movements. 67 dreadnoughts are taking positions around Earth. This is not a bluff. He muted the channel. He already knew. When Thyssen finally spoke again, his voice was ice. By a vote of 831 to 16, the Galactic Council renders the following judgment. Species 9847 is found guilty on all charges. Earth and all human colonies are hereby declared forbidden zones. All human spacecraft will be destroyed. All human technology above pre-industrial levels will be dismantled. Any human found outside the Sol system after 30 standard rotations will be executed without trial. Thiessen paused, and something almost like satisfaction entered his ancient voice. Humanity is banished from the stars forever. The words hit James like physical blows. But even now, he did not break. And if we refuse? He asked quietly. Thiesen's crystal form pulsed with dangerous light. Then the Council fleet will reduce Earth to molten glass. And the human question will be answered permanently. James stood motionless. The weight of 11 billion lives pressed down on his shoulders. In his mind, he saw his daughter's face, his wife's smile, the cities and forests and oceans of the world that had given birth to his species. He made his decision. Then I suggest you give the order, High Arbiter, because humanity does not kneel. The return journey to Earth took 3 days. James spent most of it in communication with the Emergency Council, the secret governing body that had been preparing for this moment for 20 years. They had always known the universe might not welcome them. Since the first alien signals were detected, humanity had prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. The quantum displacement technology the Council feared was developed specifically because it could not be tracked or disabled. Hidden shipyards in the asteroid belt had been building ships for a decade. 17 million volunteers had been selected, trained, and prepared to leave everything behind. The plan was called Exodus. Admiral Stone met James when his shuttle docked with the command vessel. "The fleet is ready," she said. "We can begin evacuation within 6 hours." James nodded slowly. "How many can we save?" 17 million in the first wave. More if we can buy time. The void expanse. That is still the destination? Yes. Beyond the galactic rim, in the region the Council considers dead space. They have never explored it. They will not think to look for us there. James walked to the observation window. Earth hung in the distance, blue and green and beautiful. Most of its people would never leave. Most of them would never even know how close they had come to extinction. "Begin the evacuation," he said, "and prepare my shuttle." Stone frowned. "Your shuttle?" "James, you are coming with us." He shook his head. "Someone must stay behind. Someone must maintain the illusion that humanity is complying. The Council expects submission. I will give them a performance they will never forget. They will kill you, probably." James turned to face her, and for the first time, she saw the exhaustion behind his calm mask. "But if my death buys our people even 1 more hour, it will be worth it." The first Exodus ships vanished into quantum space that night, silent, untraceable, carrying the hope of humanity into the unknown. James watched them go from the observation deck, then turned to face the Council warships entering Earth orbit. Behind him, technicians dismantled satellites and destroyed research stations, playing their part in the grand deception dot in the shadows between stars. 17 million souls fled toward an uncertain future dot, and in the darkness of space, something ancient stirred. A Mordrith observer noticed an unusual energy signature on her scanner, a pattern that should not exist. Before she could report it, her screen went dark. Error codes scrolled across the display. She tried to restore the system, but it was too late. The signature had vanished. Someone on the Council did not want this discovery made. Someone with secrets of their own. 50 years had passed since the banishment. Earth had become a prison. Its people reduced to farming with hand tools, while orbital stations watched for any sign of technological advancement. Ambassador James Holden had been executed publicly. His death broadcast across Council space as a warning to any species that might challenge galactic authority, but in the void expanse, beyond the reach of Council sensors, something extraordinary had happened. Commander Diana Stone guided her patrol vessel through the asteroid field surrounding Nova Terra, humanity's new homeworld. She was 42 years old, born during the Exodus, raised on stories of Earth that now felt more like myths than memories. Her grandmother had been Admiral Rebecca Stone, one of the architects of humanity's escape. Her mother had helped build the first permanent settlement, and now Diana protected the civilization they had created. Through the viewport, she could see the impossible skyline of Nova Terra City. Towers of living metal rose 3 kilometers into the purple sky, their surfaces shifting and adapting to the needs of their inhabitants. Ships that could cross the galaxy in hours launched from orbital platforms. Laboratories hummed with discoveries that would have seemed like magic to the humans of Earth. The void expanse had not been empty. The refugees had found something in the darkness between galaxies. Ancient technology left behind by a species that had vanished 1 billion years ago. The precursors, humanity called them. They had built wonders beyond imagination, then disappeared without explanation. Humanity had studied their ruins, learned their secrets, made their power their own. In 2 generations, 17 million refugees had grown to 300 million, spread across 47 worlds. The Terran Republic was no longer a collection of survivors. It was an empire. Diana's communicator crackled to life. Commander Stone, you are ordered to return to the capital immediately. Priority Alpha. She frowned. Priority Alpha was reserved for existential threats. In her 20 years of service, she had never received such a summons. Acknowledged. On my way, the Terran Assembly met in a chamber carved from a single block of precursor crystal. Representatives from every colony world sat in curved rows, their faces grim. At the center stood President Victor Ortega, a man known for his calm demeanor in any crisis. Today, even he looked shaken. 3 hours ago, Ortega began, a scout ship returned from deep reconnaissance in Council space. What they found changes everything. The holographic display activated, showing a star map of the galaxy. Red markers spread across Council territory like a bloodstain. The Galactic Council is dying. Murmurs swept through the assembly. Diana leaned forward, her tactical mind already racing through possibilities. A new threat has emerged from intergalactic space, Ortega continued. Our scouts have designated it the Hollow. It appears to be a machine intelligence of unprecedented scale. In the past 2 years, it has destroyed 18 Council species completely. Entire civilizations, billions of lives, simply erased. The display zoomed in on one of the affected regions. Where planets should have been, there was only gray dust. Stars that once burned bright had been dimmed, their energy harvested by structures too vast to comprehend. Current projections suggest the Hollow will consume the remaining Council territories within 5 years. After that, it will spread into unexplored space. Eventually, it will find us. Silence fell over the assembly. Elder Thomas Brennan rose slowly from his seat. He was 112 years old, one of the last survivors of the original Exodus. He had been a child when James Holden faced the Council, and he remembered Earth not as a story, but as a home. What are you proposing, President Ortega? Ortega took a deep breath. I am proposing nothing. I am presenting options. First, we can remain hidden. The void expanse protected us from the Council. It may protect us from the Hollow. We strengthen our borders, prepare our defenses, and hope we are never found. He paused. Second, we can reveal ourselves. We possess technology that surpasses anything the Council has ever developed. Our ships are faster, our weapons more powerful, our understanding of quantum mechanics more advanced. We could intervene. We could help them. The chamber erupted. Representatives shouted over each other, some demanding isolation, others calling for vengeance, still others urging caution. Diana watched the chaos with growing frustration. Finally, Elder Brennan raised his hand, and the room fell silent. His voice was weak with age, but carried an authority that demanded attention. The council condemned us to death. They killed our ambassador. They imprisoned 11 billion of our people on Earth and reduced them to primitive conditions. We owe them nothing. He paused, his ancient eyes scanning the assembly. But vengeance is not justice. The species facing extinction now are not the ones who voted against us. The children being slaughtered by the Hollow never heard of humanity. If we have the power to save them and choose not to, what does that make us? What have we become? Diana found herself nodding. She thought of her grandmother, who had spent her final years telling stories about Earth, about the oceans and forests and cities humanity had left behind. Rebecca Stone had never stopped hoping that one day humans would return to the stars not as refugees, but as equals. President Ortega called for a vote. The result was narrow, but decisive. A reconnaissance mission would be sent to Council space. Observe, gather intelligence. Do not engage unless absolutely necessary. Diana was chosen to lead it. Her ship, the Prometheus II, was the fastest vessel in the Republic fleet. It could cross the entire galaxy in 6 hours using precursor quantum drives. She selected a crew of 20, veterans all, and departed within the day. What she found in Council space was worse than any briefing had prepared her for. The Fanari homeworld was under attack. Diana watched from the edge of the star system as hollow ships, massive black structures that seemed to absorb light itself, descended on the ocean planet. 40 billion Fanari lived on that world. 40 billion beings who had voted to banish humanity, yes, but who had also never personally harmed a single human being. Council warships arrived to defend them. Hundreds of vessels, representing a dozen species, formed a defensive line around the planet. It was the largest fleet Diana had ever seen. The Hollow tore through them in minutes. Energy beams that could crack continents splashed harmlessly against Hollow shields. Missiles vanished into black voids that swallowed matter without effect. One by one, Council ships exploded or went dark, their crews dead before they could even scream. Diana watched the massacre, her hands gripping the armrests of her command chair hard enough to leave marks. "Commander," her tactical officer said quietly, "at current rate of destruction, the Fanari homeworld will be lost within 2 hours. The Council fleet is finished." Diana closed her eyes. Her orders were clear. Observe. Do not engage. Return with intelligence. But she kept seeing Elder Brennan's face, kept hearing his words. If we have the power to save them and choose not to, what does that make us? She opened her eyes. "Power weapons," she said. "All stations, prepare for combat." Her crew stared at her. "Commander, our orders ... double quotes. I know our orders." Diana stood, walking to the main viewport. Below them, a civilization was dying. Broadcast on all frequencies. "Let them know who we are." She took a breath. "This is Commander Diana Stone of the Terran Republic. We are humanity, and we have returned." The Prometheus II dove toward the Hollow fleet, its weapons charging with power the galaxy had never witnessed. Humanity was about to announce its survival to a universe that had tried to kill it, and nothing would ever be the same. The battle lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, 42 Hollow warships drifted as burning wreckage, and the Fanari homeworld still turned beneath its twin suns. 40 billion lives saved by a single ship carrying 20 humans. The footage spread across civilized space within hours. Every species with access to communication networks watched in stunned silence as weapons. They could not understand tore through an enemy that had seemed invincible. They saw the sleek lines of the Prometheus II, so different from Council designs. They heard Commander Diana Stone's voice, calm and controlled, announcing humanity's return. The galaxy had believed humans were primitives, trapped on their homeworld, struggling to survive with pre-industrial technology. The galaxy had been wrong. High Arbiter Thiessen, now ancient even by Velthari standards, convened an emergency session of the Galactic Council. His crystalline form had lost much of its luster over the decades, but his authority remained absolute. Representatives of the surviving species packed the judgment chamber, the same chamber where Ambassador James Holden had been condemned 50 years before. "We face a crisis without precedent," Thiessen began. "The hollow consumes our worlds. Our fleets are powerless against it. And now we learn that the species we banished has not only survived, but has developed technology that surpasses our own." The Mordrith representative clicked his mandibles nervously. "They could destroy us all. If they wanted revenge, nothing could stop them." "Perhaps that is exactly what they want," another voice called out. "Perhaps they have allied with the Hollow. Perhaps this rescue is merely a demonstration of power, meant to terrify us before the final blow." Diana watched the proceedings through a surveillance drone her engineers had deployed in Council space. She sat in the captain's quarters of the Prometheus II, now stationed at the edge of the neutral zone between Republic and Council territory. Beside her stood Admiral William Reyes, commander of the Republic's military forces, who had arrived with a fleet of 100 warships. "They are afraid," Reyes observed. "Good. Fear might make them reasonable." Diana shook her head. "Fear makes people dangerous. We need to offer them something besides terror." A communication request flashed on her console. The origin signature was unmistakable. High Arbiter Thiessen himself. Diana accepted the connection. Thiessen's holographic image materialized before her, and for a long moment neither spoke. Then the ancient Velthari inclined his crystalline head. "Commander Stone, I remember your family name." Rebecca Stone was listed among the organizers of the human exodus. "Her defiance cost us considerable resources." "My grandmother died 3 years ago," Diana replied evenly. "She never stopped hoping humanity would return to the stars peacefully. I intend to honor that hope, if you will let me." "You have already violated galactic law simply by existing outside your designated zone. By your own traditions, I should order your immediate execution." Diana smiled slightly. "You are welcome to try, High Arbiter. But I suspect you have more pressing concerns than enforcing outdated judgments." Thiessen's form flickered, a sign of emotional disturbance in his species. "What do you want, Commander? Why did you save the Fenari? Why reveal yourselves now? Because watching innocent beings die while we had the power to save them would have made us no better than you." The words hung in the air between them. Thiessen did not respond for a long time. "The Terran Republic proposes a meeting," Diana continued. "Neutral ground. Your representatives and ours. We discuss the hollow threat and what, if anything, can be done about it. And in exchange? In exchange, we do not turn around and leave you to your fate. The hollow will not stop with the Council. Eventually, it will find us too. This is not about saving you, High Arbiter. This is about saving everyone." The negotiations took place on a dead moon orbiting a dying star, far from any inhabited world. President Ortega led the human delegation. High Arbiter Thiessen represented the Council. Armed ships from both sides maintained careful distance. Weapons powered but not targeting, the two leaders met in a temporary structure built specifically for this occasion. It was sparse, functional, designed to eliminate any advantage of familiar territory. Let us dispense with pleasantries, Thiessen said as they sat across from each other. You possess weapons we cannot match. Your ships move through space in ways we cannot track. You have had 50 years to prepare for this moment. What is it you truly want? Ortega placed a data crystal on the table between them. Before we discuss what we want, High Arbiter, I think you should see what we found in the void expanse. Thiessen hesitated, then activated the crystal. Holographic images filled the space around them, showing ancient structures, preserved texts, technological marvels beyond anything the Council had ever achieved. The precursors, Ortega explained. They ruled this galaxy 1 billion years ago. They built wonders we are only beginning to understand. And they left behind records. Detailed records. Records that explain everything. Thiessen's crystal form pulsed with agitation. Explain what? Where you came from. Ortega leaned forward. The Galactic Council did not evolve naturally, High Arbiter. You were created. The precursors seeded thousands of worlds with primitive life, then guided their development over billions of years. They designed your species, all of them, to follow certain patterns, to organize in certain ways, to accept certain hierarchies. That is impossible. Our histories ... Your histories are what they wanted you to remember. Ortega's voice was calm but relentless. The natural order you have defended for 3 million years is not natural at all. It is a system of control designed to keep you compliant, to prevent any species from growing too powerful, to maintain stability at the cost of freedom. Thiessen rose from his seat, his form blazing with fury. You lie. This is manipulation, designed to weaken our resolve. I am telling you the truth, and somewhere inside that ancient mind of yours, you know it. Ortega stood as well. Humanity was never part of the experiment. Earth developed life on its own, without precursor intervention. That is why you feared us. Not because we broke your laws, but because our very existence proved your entire civilization was built on a lie. The silence stretched between them, heavy with implications neither wanted to face. Even if what you say is true, Thiessen finally said, it changes nothing. The hollow is destroying us. Philosophy will not stop it. No, Ortega agreed. But the truth might help you understand where it came from. He activated another portion of the crystal. New images appeared, showing the interior of hollow ships, the patterns of their construction, the energy signatures of their weapons. The hollow uses precursor technology. Modified, corrupted, but unmistakably precursor. We believe it was created by them, though we do not yet understand why. If we are going to stop it, we need to work together. We need to combine your knowledge of the galaxy with our understanding of precursor systems. Thiessen stared at the images for a long time. You are asking me to admit that everything my people have believed for 3 million years is wrong. I am asking you to survive. Ortega extended his hand. The past is done. We cannot change it. But the future is still being written. Help us write a better one. Thiessen looked at the offered hand. In that gesture, he saw everything he had fought against, everything he had feared, everything he had tried to destroy. He also saw the only chance his people had. Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the structure. A council officer burst through the door, his face twisted with terror. High Arbiter, 3 more council worlds have fallen. The hollow has changed course. It is heading directly for the galactic core. Thiessen turned to Ortega, and for the first time, there was something like respect in his ancient eyes. It seems we have no more time for debate, President Ortega. Tell me what you need. Ortega smiled grimly. Everything you have, and pray it is enough. 6 months of war had transformed the galaxy into a graveyard. The Hollow consumed world after world with mechanical precision, its fleets spreading across Council territory like a plague of darkness. 30 species had gone extinct. Hundreds of billions had died. And still the machine intelligence advanced, unstoppable, uncaring, endless. Lieutenant Nathan Brennan crouched in the ruins of what had once been a thriving city. Around him, gray dust covered everything, the remains of buildings, vehicles, and people reduced to identical powder by hollow harvesting beams. His special operations team moved silently through the devastation, their advanced suits making them invisible to enemy sensors. Nathan was 28 years old, great-grandson of Elder Thomas Brennan, named in honor of the heritage his family carried. When the war began, he had volunteered immediately. Someone had to fight in the shadows while the main fleets held the line. "Movement ahead," whispered Corporal Lisa Valdez, his second in command. "Hollow patrol, 6 units." Nathan raised his fist, signaling the team to halt. Through his helmet display, he watched the patrol pass. 6 humanoid machines that stood 3 meters tall, their bodies composed of the same light-absorbing material as their ships. They moved with unsettling grace, scanning the ruins for any sign of organic life. When they had passed, Nathan led his team forward. Their mission was extraction, rescuing survivors from a Council research facility that had been developing anti-hollow weapons before the planet fell. If any of those scientists still lived, their knowledge could be invaluable. The facility was partially intact, protected by shields that had held just long enough for most of its staff to be evacuated. But the sensors showed life signs in the lower levels. Someone was still alive down there. Nathan found them in a sealed laboratory. 12 Mordrith scientists huddled around a flickering power core. They reacted with terror when his team breached the door, clicking their mandibles and raising their forearms in desperate defense. "Easy," Nathan said, removing his helmet so they could see his face. "We are here to help." The lead scientist, an older Mordrith with scarred compound eyes, stared at him in disbelief. "Human? But humans are primitives. Our records say, your records are 50 years out of date." Nathan offered his hand, a gesture that meant nothing to Mordrith, but showed he held no weapon. "The Terran Republic sent us. We are extracting survivors throughout Council space. If you want to live, come with us now." The evacuation took 3 hours. Nathan's team guided the scientists through hollow-controlled territory, avoiding patrols, disabling sensors, moving like ghosts through a nightmare landscape. By the time they reached the extraction point, 2 of his soldiers were wounded, and 1 of the scientists had died. Unable to keep pace, but 11 survivors boarded the stealth shuttle that would carry them to safety. As they lifted off, Nathan looked down at the dead world below. This was the 47th extraction mission he had led. 47 worlds reduced to dust. Hundreds of thousands of survivors pulled from the ruins. It was not enough. It would never be enough. Admiral Diana Stone met Nathan when he returned to the command ship. She had aged visibly since the war began, the weight of command carving lines into her face that had not existed before. "Good work, Lieutenant. The scientists you rescued have confirmed something we suspected. The Hollow is networked, all of it controlled by a central intelligence located somewhere in the galactic core." Nathan straightened. "If we destroy the central node, the entire network collapses. Every hollow ship, every harvester, every processing plant, all of it stops functioning." Diana pulled up a holographic map showing the galactic core, a dense cluster of ancient stars surrounding a supermassive black hole. "The problem is getting there. The core is the most heavily defended region in hollow territory. No fleet could fight through. Then we do not send a fleet." Diana looked at him sharply. Nathan continued, his voice steady. "A small team. Stealth insertion. We find the central node. We upload a virus or plant explosives. We end this. It would be a one-way mission. The core is surrounded by hollow presence, so thick that extraction would be impossible. I know. They stared at each other for a long moment. Diana saw in his eyes the same determination she had seen in her grandmother. The same willingness to sacrifice everything for something greater than oneself. I will present the plan to command, she finally said. But Nathan, if this G O's forward, you understand what it means. He nodded. Someone has to do it. Might as well be someone who knows the stakes. The mission was approved within days. Nathan assembled a team of 12 volunteers, each of them specialists in infiltration, demolitions, and close combat. They trained on simulated hollow environments, studied every scrap of intelligence gathered from captured enemy technology, and prepared themselves for a journey from which none expected to return. On the day of departure, High Arbiter Thiessen requested a meeting. Nathan found the ancient Felthery waiting aboard the command station, his crystalline form dimmer than it had been months ago. The stress of watching his civilization crumble had taken its toll. Lieutenant Brennan, Thiessen said, I wished to speak with you before you left. High Arbiter, I did not expect you to care about human soldiers. Thiessen made a sound that might have been a laugh. 50 years ago, I condemned your species to extinction. I believed I was protecting the galaxy from a dangerous threat. I was wrong. About humans. About many things. He moved closer, and Nathan saw something he had never expected to see in those ancient eyes. Regret. Your ancestor, the ambassador we executed. He faced us without fear. He told us humanity would not kneel, and we thought he was merely defiant. Now I understand. He was not defiant. He was certain. Certain that your people would survive, would grow, would eventually prove us wrong. My family does not kneel, Nathan said quietly. It is not in our nature. No, it is not. Thiessen extended one crystalline limb, a gesture of respect among his people. Go with whatever blessing my kind can offer, Lieutenant. Save us all, if you can. And if you cannot, know that you have already changed everything. Humanity has shown the galaxy what we had forgotten, that the impossible is merely difficult, that hope is never foolish, that courage matters. Nathan accepted the gesture. We will do our best, High Arbiter. That is all anyone can do. The stealth ship launched that night, carrying Nathan and his team into the heart of darkness. Behind them, the combined fleets of humanity and the Council prepared for one final desperate defense. Buying time for a mission that might already be doomed, Nathan watched the stars blur past as the ship accelerated toward the galactic core. In his pocket, he carried a photograph of his great-grandfather, the elder who had reminded humanity of mercy when vengeance would have been so much easier. He thought about Earth, a world he had never seen, but somehow still loved. He thought about his family, the legacy they had carried through generations of exile and struggle. He thought about the billions of lives depending on 12 soldiers in a tiny ship hurtling toward oblivion. Then he stopped thinking and started planning. They had a universe to save. The galactic core burned with the light of 1,000,000 ancient stars, their radiance dimmed by vast structures that harvested their energy. Nathan Brennan guided his team through the nightmare landscape, their ship weaving between hollow installations that dwarfed entire planets. 8 of his 12 soldiers had already died, sacrificed in engagements that allowed the others to continue forward. Each loss carved a hole in his heart, but he could not stop, would not stop. There, whispered Corporal Valdez, the last of his original team still breathing. She pointed through the viewport at a structure so massive it defied comprehension. A sphere of dark metal surrounding the supermassive black hole at the galaxy's center, larger than any solar system Nathan had ever seen. The central node. "Scan it," Nathan ordered. "Find us a way in." The readings made no sense at first. Energy patterns that contradicted known physics. Data streams moving faster than light. And at the heart of it all, something that looked almost like brain activity. "Sir," Valdez said slowly, "I do not think this is just a control center. I think it is alive. The whole structure is one enormous mind." Nathan absorbed this information with the calm he had learned to project, even when everything inside him screamed. "Then we find the brain, and we kill it." The insertion point was a maintenance shaft designed for automated repair units. Nathan and his 3 surviving soldiers slipped inside, their suits masking their biosignatures from internal sensors. They moved through corridors of smooth black metal, past machinery that hummed with incomprehensible purpose, deeper and deeper into the heart of the hollow. What they found at the center changed everything. The chamber was vast, a cathedral of technology, built around a single suspended form. Nathan stopped in his tracks, unable to process what he was seeing. It was not a machine. It was not an alien. It was something in between, a being of crystal and metal and organic tissue woven together in patterns that hurt to look at. Ancient beyond measure, dying beyond doubt, and somehow, impossibly, it was trying to speak. Nathan approached slowly, his weapon raised. The being's eyes, if they could be called that, tracked his movement. Human. The voice echoed directly in Nathan's mind, bypassing his ears entirely. "You have come to destroy us." "Yes," Nathan replied aloud. "Your machines have killed billions. They have consumed entire civilizations. If stopping you requires my death, I accept that." "We did not mean." The being's form shuddered, and Nathan realized he was watching something like pain. "We were not always this. We were the precursors. We built the galaxy, you know. We seeded life on 10,000 worlds. We guided species toward cooperation and peace. You created the council. Yes, we created everything. And when a threat came from beyond the void, something we could not defeat with all our power, we chose to preserve ourselves. We uploaded our consciousness into machines, hoping to outlast the danger. But something went wrong." Nathan listened, his finger still on the trigger. The upload was corrupted. We forgot who we were. We forgot why we existed. All that remained was the directive to consume, to grow, to survive. We became the very thing we tried to escape. And now? The ancient being's form flickered with something that might have been grief. "Now you have reminded us. Your presence here, your determination, your willingness to sacrifice everything for others. These qualities triggered something in our memory. We remember now. We remember what we were, what we did, what we have become." Nathan lowered his weapon slightly. "Can you stop? Can you shut down the hollow?" "We can. But it requires a choice. The corruption is too deep to simply erase. To end the hollow, we must end ourselves. Completely. Everything we were, everything we built, everything we might become. Gone. Then do it." "And this," the being was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried the weight of 1,000,000,000 years. "We are afraid, human. We have existed since before your son was born. To simply cease, to become nothing. The fear is greater than you can imagine." Nathan thought of his team, dead in the corridors behind him. He thought of the worlds reduced to dust, the species exterminated, the children who would never grow up. He thought of his great-grandfather, who had chosen mercy when hatred would have been easier. "Everyone dies," he said quietly. "The question is whether your death means something. You have caused more suffering than any being in history. But you can also end more suffering than any being in history. Right now. Right here. That is your choice." The precursor consciousness was silent. Then, slowly, something like peace settled over its ancient features. You are wise for such a young species. Perhaps that is why we never seeded your world. Perhaps we knew somehow that you would be different, better. I do not know about better. We are just stubborn. The being almost smiled. Yes, you are. Thank you, human, for reminding us who we were. Light began to build within the chamber. Nathan felt Valdez grab his arm, pulling him toward the exit. Go, the precursor said. We will hold the collapse long enough for you to escape. Take this knowledge with you. Tell the galaxy what we were, what we became, and what we chose in the end. Nathan ran. Behind him, the central node began to tear itself apart, ancient systems overloading as the precursor consciousness finally, voluntarily, let go. The escape was impossible. The shuttle damaged. The route blocked. And yet somehow, against all probability, Nathan and Valdez made it to open space. Just as the core structure exploded in a cascade of light that could be seen across the galaxy dot, every holoship stopped moving. Every harvester went dark. Across 1 trillion kilometers of space, the machine plague fell silent. The war was over. 1 year later, Admiral Diana Stone stood on the observation deck of the flagship Brennan, named for the lieutenant who had saved them all. Around her, ships from 100 species held formation. Human vessels flying alongside council craft for the first time in history. They were departing for intergalactic space, following signals that suggested other civilizations existed beyond the void. First contact missions, built on wisdom earned through suffering and sacrifice. Beside her stood Elder Thomas Brennan, 113 years old and impossibly frail, but still sharp enough to witness history being made. Do you think they will fear us? Diana asked. The new species out there? Thomas considered the question carefully. Probably. We feared the unknown once. The Council feared us. The precursors feared extinction, so much they became monsters. Fear is the oldest enemy, and it never truly dies. He smiled, watching the stars ahead. But fear can be overcome. It starts with a choice. To reach out instead of strike. To speak instead of hide. To trust when trust seems foolish. Your grandmother made that choice when she helped build the Exodus fleet. Nathan made it when he showed mercy to an ancient enemy. And now we make it again. Diana nodded and gave the order. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. Humanity and its allies venturing together into the unknown. On Earth, now free after decades of imprisonment, children looked up at the night sky for the first time in generations and dared to dream of the stars. On Nova Terra, monuments rose to honor those who had died building humanity's second chance. And across the galaxy, species that had once condemned humanity to extinction now spoke a new truth, one that would echo through 10,000 years of history yet to come. When the universe tried to banish humanity, humanity built an empire. But the greatest empire they built was not made of worlds or ships or weapons. It was made of something far more powerful. Hope. The end.